Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
Welcome back to the show. We're joined once again by our CEO, Donald Wittman, his own company. Yeah, it's called Wittman Technology, LLC. He's also a LinkedIn expert. He's an author times many. And of course, he's here always trying to help those in the business of, well, guess what? Trying to get that next job and how to do it, whether it's a boot camp, whether it's training, personal coaching, one-on-one. He's here to really help you. And again, LinkedIn really is his specialty. Let me have him say hello and introduce himself.
Hi, everyone. I'm Don Wittman, the president of Wittman Technology. You can look me up on whitmantechnology.com or on LinkedIn and Donald J. Wittman, or my email, donlinkedinguy.com or don@whitmantechnology.com. So yeah, I'm basically a LinkedIn expert in quite a few different areas for both job seekers, for individual professionals, helping companies, lawyers, insurance people, salespeople, things like that.
Mm-hmm.
All to do either get a better job or be better at finding clients. So it's I help a lot of people, and I spend a lot of time, helping others, and it's just kind of fun.
Gosh, we do a lot. And what did you have in mind for today? I don't see any specific notes for today's show. What's on the agenda? Fill us in.
So we're going to talk about two different topics, where the hiring and firing thing is going today. There's actually some new trends in that. And I just spent last week talking about with quite a few people about ageism. And the fact that if it's done right, it really isn't there anymore.
Mm-hmm.
And how successful I've been able to help a few people land jobs because they're just not, I guess, talking about their successes. So anyway, it's actually quite interesting that the executives that really do the best don't talk about it.
Mm-hmm.
And don't want to put it there, and that's what's holding them back. So,
all right,
I'll start out by talking about the three steps where we are since COVID. We talked earlier about the Great Resignation, which I really call the Great Reassessment. There was quiet quitting. I'm not sure if we spent that much time talking about quiet quitting. Quiet quitting is where people just they're disgruntled, which actually quite a few people still are. They haven't been able to move on to their next position yet. They're waiting to do that, but they call it quiet quitting. It says, I only do as much work as I got to do, and that's it. I don't want to hear it.
Yeah.
And because, during COVID, a lot of people wouldn't come to work. And a lot of people who wanted to they wouldn't let people work from home, so they ended up quitting. So people ended up getting disgruntled, unhappy with their companies because all these people left, and they now have to pick up all the extra work, the ones that did work. And a lot of people are still very unhappy with what happened there, and wanted better compensation, and that's part of. We talked about before about a lot of people reassessing that 85% of basically the workforce would consider moving on if the right opportunity came along.
Mm-hmm.
And now it's called a quiet promotion is coming around.
Ooh.
So what's happening there is companies are not being able to hire more senior people. Like managers, senior managers, directors, kind of stuff. So what they're really trying to do is engage some employees they have to take on additional responsibilities without really promoting them yet. And this has happened. Some companies have been very successful at it, but there is no announcement within the company or that they're getting promoted. They're not being promoted. They're not getting extra money. So companies have been able to get some people to take on these responsibilities because they can't hire, but that's raising the expectation that they're going to get that promotion and sometime shortly, and that's not happening.
Mm-hmm.
So that's causing more rift between the companies and the people. And it's easy to understand that companies want to get the responsibilities filled because they have to backfill these tasks, but they're not really engaging the people properly, having the right talks about, am I going to get a promotion out of this? Where's it going? Am I going to get more money? All that kind of stuff. So companies are failing dramatically at that. And again, this is just a carry forward from during COVID, where they were asking people to take on and do more work. So this is the next step of making people work more or asking people to work more. But there's a lot of people still have not been, promoted or compensated. So that's causing causing more grief. So this is happening. I expect people to basically put their foot down at some point in time, and maybe because people are working from home, they're afraid to do that. But at some point in time, that's going to have a problem. It's good for the employees to do it for a certain amount of time because technically they are working at a higher level, and they can put that on their resume and LinkedIn profiles, and it will help them with the next step. The problem is the companies are taking too long to recognize the fact that these people are taking this on, that it is more work, it is more responsibility, it is more stress. So we'll see. But that's also having more and more people be on the fence. Okay? The other thing that's happening is companies are, and a good part of what companies are doing, they're really pushing for referrals from their employees to get other people to join. The problem is companies who have been overdriving their employees and not compensating them for that much work. A lot of employees are refusing to refer their friends or refer people they know. So that's causing other grief, and companies have been frustrated at that. But the companies are now at least increasing their referrals, and even more so reviewing employee compensation is to see if it's at market. And this has been the problem all along. There's a lot of positions that have been upgraded, and compensation wise, and a lot of companies are way far behind. There's quite a few people I've talked to going, I really don't. I'm looking for the same job. The problem where I am is, I haven't gotten a raise in years because the company's not doing that well. I should be making, $10,000-$15,000 more at this company. So I'm having to move on, which means new resumes, more LinkedIn, and even on you see a lot of these lateral moves happening. Not even a promotion type move; it's a lateral move. So that's starting to be in there because some companies just aren't doing that well. COVID has done some damage to quite a number of companies. They don't feel that they have to, that they don't feel that they can compensate the people more, and they're trying to hold on for as long as they can at a low compensation level. And that's starting to wear thin on out there. So, talking to people, how do you do this? He said, I was in a webinar talking to some more senior people and saying, how do I go and tell I'm at the same level yet I want, $10,000 to $20,000 more money for doing the same work? And we talk about, you have to put, what can you do? The old Wittman statement, what can you do for me? Right? You have to be able to sit down, tell them what you can do for them, particularly if you've been a successful employee. being able to really get the job done and do stuff. And that's really been a problem. And that'll come up a little bit later. Actually, one of the big changes in the marketplace has been actually women willing to quit and find another job. It used to be that men were 35% more likely to leave for another job than women, and companies were able to pay women. This is part of the equal pay thing that we talked about last week, in that they've been able to keep them there, compensate them less, and give them, less personal freedoms, and get away with it. And now that has turned on a lot of companies. And a lot of the women are unhappy. It's I should say something stronger, but I'm going to get in trouble with that. But
I got it.
they're really been unfair, and childcare is still an issue for women predominantly. So who childcare affects has changed now than a little more than before. Now, more women are better educated than men than previously, right? There's more women going to college than men. More women are becoming the major breadwinner than previously. And part of the responsibility of the families now is really parent care. So you have child care and parent care. And part of that has been, we heard, during COVID, the buying of bigger houses and things like that, more multi-generational families, having houses where you can have the kids, the parents, and the grandparents all in the same place. I mean, that helps out with, child care. It helps out with quite a few different things, but also, parents are getting older, and a lot of them can't live on their own, and a lot of them don't want to go to senior care facilities, right? Because it's too lonely. They would rather be with family. So that again puts up issues of who's going to stay home, who's going to help with the parent care and child care. So that issue is becoming much bigger than it ever was before, and senior care has gotten very, very expensive. And so there's more of this multi-generational thing. So there's a lot of decisions that families have to make now. And, what is the issue when only one adult in the family can work? It's really about money. So the push to get better salaries, to, the better compensation stuff, more work-life balance, all of that has really become a much bigger issue. Even my son's generation says, you can only put up with working these long weeks for so long before it's over. You either get promoted or hire somebody new, something has to come out of this. And companies aren't getting it in a lot of places. So I see that. I hear those complaints all the time, and how to deal with it and how to explain it, in your interviews with the new companies you want to go to, and things like that. So that's what I've been dealing with a lot. The other part, to end that and move on, is to ageism has become a much bigger issue, and not necessarily that companies are doing it. I think a lot of the onus goes on to the people who are looking to get a job. Now, some companies just try and get away with hiring younger employees to pay them less. That's there, no doubt about it. It's still happening, and it'll probably happen forever. But there's a lot of skills that the 50+ people have that the 20 to 30-year-olds just don't have, and that's the skills that make a difference on whether they can get hired or not. You know, I talked to a group last week, and a couple of people there were in their 50s saying this, they're talking about ageism and stuff like that. I can't get a job. I got laid off, blah, 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 blah. But they're really not writing their profiles and resumes appropriately. I keep telling people who are more senior that they really have to spend some time with their achievements. Right? Give you a good example. There was a salesperson there. He's a senior guy. He's a high-tech salesperson. He's in his mid-50s or later 50s. Right? He's almost every year he's in the President's Club. He's always 100% above quota. Most of the time he's above 125% of quota. And he says, why aren't I getting hired? Why aren't people calling me? And they said, well, put up on the screen, what's your LinkedIn profile look like? What's your, URL for your LinkedIn profile? And I go through and just scan it going, so you say nothing about the fact that you're in the President's Club every year. You don't say your achievements about sales. The reason why a lot of companies hire salespeople is they want to hire salespeople that can sell and that are successful at it, right? They don't want to, if they want to hire a junior salesperson, they get somebody who they can pay a lot less to, and yeah, they don't have to pay them as much. It's easier on that, and they can hire a lot more of them. You're a senior salesperson or a senior exec, and tell me why I should hire you and pay you more. And they're not saying that. There's nowhere on their resume or on their LinkedIn profile the fact that they are always above quota, most of the time above 125%, half the time above 150% of quota, go to the President's Club, go to Hawaii almost every other year. It says, but you have to say that.
Yeah.
That's the difference. Companies will hire more senior people if you can show that you've excelled in your work history.
Okay.
And they'll pay you substantially. Yes, you got laid off. I mean, some companies, like Salesforce are not closing deals, so they're having to reduce some of their sales staff. There's some other companies who are doing the same thing. But that happens. Everybody has their up and down years. Now you can take somebody like Cisco. Everybody thought Cisco stuff, their revenues were going to, and their backlog of orders were going to start being canceled. And they're basically saying, yeah, we were having our lowest cancel rate that we've ever had.
Wow.
The backlog is getting bigger and bigger and not getting smaller and smaller. Everybody talking about going into recession, it should be. So those salespeople are doing well. And when they hire new salespeople, they want to see your ability to sell. You need to show them that you can sell. And, that's the truth with even just non-salespeople who are senior execs is, what are your successes? Tell me what you've done to give me an example of how you succeeded and why you succeeded. And all of a sudden, if you can explain that properly, the hiring process isn't so bad anymore. Had a chat with a women's group who's 50 plus, and they're saying that they're not sure they want to go through the grind. I mean, part of the hiring process has gotten really bad. Recruiters and companies are, not being polite in the way they're handling their potential hires. And it's gotten worse and worse over the years. And they basically say, why do I want to go back and put up with all this? They don't return my phone calls. I send them an email, they won't return emails. They're just not providing any feedback, providing any discussion of where they are. So the process is for 50 plus is been difficult. It's hard and it's frustrating. But the companies are looking for them. They're just not willing to be more personable in treating the execs the way they should be doing it, the senior people the way they should be. They're not college kids where, you get a bazillion applications for every job opening. So that's really what's happening. A lot of it is, when the 50 plus people get their resumes right, get their LinkedIn profiles right. Today, LinkedIn is a recruiter's Rolodex. Most recruiting companies don't do, unless you're really big, don't have the application tracking systems where you can keep an index of resumes and applications for years. Most recruiting companies have ditched that, even the big ones. The executive search firms. So, LinkedIn has become the application tracking system or candidate tracking system of record. And companies use that. So how do you get found? Right? Is having a very good LinkedIn profile with all your successes in there, right? Having it properly keyworded, have the successes, make it, have a good picture, have a good background, make sure that you have in the about field, your top-notch elevator speech. And what are your big achievements? What did you do in your previous positions that would make this company want to hire you? And it's simple. It's not complex stuff. You can't write a dissertation on your achievements. You have to make it to the point and small enough, but it works. Everybody who I've helped, who were 50 plus, looking for that or complained about ageism, everyone has basically got the job they wanted, even at the money they wanted. Right? They never thought they'd get the money they wanted. But so it is there if it's done right. And that's only straightforward stuff. The more senior you are, the more with them you have to put in there. What's in it for me? What's in it for the company who wants to hire you? It's really simple stuff, but you need to spend the time to go get the keywords right, get your achievements right, and put them in words that a recruiter will understand. Which is the other part of the problem is getting it so that there are people looking at your profile and your resume understand what you're saying to them and not use too much jargon. It's nice to have the industry jargon and all that other stuff, but it doesn't work. Typically, the jargon isn't in the job description or not in the keywords that most of the recruiters use. You need to put it in plain, simple English, how it is. And that's part of the other problem too, is you can't write a resume and a LinkedIn profile at a PhD level or a master's level. The reason for that is the search engines that look at them, that help people find you, right? The searches on LinkedIn, the searches on Google, the searches against even your internal searches with an application tracking system, okay, don't understand natural language, which is one of my big points, that you really need to write your resume and your LinkedIn profile at an 8th grade level. And I get so much pushback on that, but using too many prepositions, conjunctions, make it so that if you have multi-word descriptors or keywords in your LinkedIn profile and your resume, won't be searchable. So it's simple is better. Keywords need to be kept together. Some people use most descriptors now for people who are looking for a job can't use single word keywords. They used to have either 2-word keywords or 3-word keyword strings. Therefore, you need to be, you try and use prepositions and conjunctions to try and use less words, make it simpler to understand. But the problem is you have a search engine before it gets to those recruiters. It has to get past the search engine, right? Because they're using a search engine to find it, and using that means you'll fail on the search engine, which is the first step. Everybody talks about, wants to understand the process, right? The first thing someone does, a recruiter does to find someone, is does a search. So your resume and your LinkedIn profile has to be search friendly, right? Simple. I mean, it's not that hard to understand the concept. The problem is, how do you do it right? Systems like LinkedIn and Google, you have to be careful with punctuation, right? It is like on LinkedIn, sometimes on Google, not always on Google. Google is better than LinkedIn, but if you put colons or ampersands and other things, you need to put a space on both sides, except for certain strings like P and L. You can put P ampersand L, but that's a known designation that is accepted. But if you don't put spaces in a lot of them in between them, like if you put parentheses around keywords, parentheses become part of the word and the search engine fails. So punctuation is a big deal. If you want to know more about it, about that stuff, you can go and read it in my book, which is Ignite Your LinkedIn Profile.
Perfect time right here.
And
you are a pro.
it's an Amazon bestseller. It's been a bestseller and #1 bestseller on Amazon in England and Canada, as well as the USA. So you can get all the details in that. It tells you how to do all the how to talk about your Wittman stuff, your achievements and things like that to make sure you can be found on LinkedIn.
Perfect. Thank you so much. And WittmanTechnology.com. Wait, what's the website?
Yes, WittmanTechnology.com.
Singular. Good.
My email is either don@WittmanTechnology.com or don@LinkedInGuy.com. And you can always get me on LinkedIn at Donald J. Wittman.
Perfect. Thank you so much. And you also, your book can be found where? Or books?
It's on Amazon. It's in several other places. Or you can actually go to igniteyourprofile.com and take a look at the webpage and see if you like it and you're interested. And you can click on the buttons there to find the book.
Great. Thank you so much. Pleasure having you as always. Enjoy your day. Good luck with the snow that's coming our way, and hopefully it won't be too bad. Have a great day. To all of our listeners, please stay tuned. More of the show is on the way. Don't go anywhere.
Are you looking for even more of the podcasts and hosts that you love? The Podcast Business News Network is proud to announce that you now have even more ways to listen live. Check out the MyTuner Radio, online radio box, and Simple Radio apps on iOS and Android, or find us online. Search for Business News Network on mytuner-radio.com, or search Podcast Business News Network on streama.com and onlineradiobox.com/US. Take your podcast on the go and don't miss a minute of the action.
Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
For nearly 2,000 severely injured veterans, everyday life has become filled with barriers.
Day-to-day simple tasks can become pretty daunting.
I have to carry my chair up 2 flights of steps or have somebody do it for me.
What scares me the most is just the falling.
When I'm struggling with my house, I think, to have that one great barrier just knocked down, it's crucial.
Home for Our Troops is a wonderful nonprofit that builds a
mortgage-free, fully adaptive, handicap-accessible house. And there's no catch.
It'll be our very first home that we've ever owned. This is a game changer.
This is where your life begins again.
We need you to join us in completing this important mission. Please visit hfotusa.org and help build homes and rebuild lives.
Because of you, everything's going to be okay.